Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Everyone is a little under the weather right now. It's all right. It's understandable. Okay, here we go. This is yet another episode of That Is Effing Weird, and we have something kind of special conjured up today. We will be doing what we like to call the fishbowl topics. So we've come together with about 9 different topics today. We may not get to cover them all, but what we've done is we put them in a wheel generator. We're going to click that wheel, and we're going to see what it lands on, and whatever it lands on, we're going to talk about it. Just so everyone is aware, as far as the audience goes too, no one knows these topics except for me. That was not intentional. It's just kind of how everything played out this time. I'm really interested to see what you guys think of this. Before we get going, any thoughts from Ro, Cody, Tristan? You guys want to say anything before we get started?
No, I really want to know what you chose as the topics.
Okay. All right. Well, then I won't sit around and talk anymore. We'll get right into it. All right. So just click the wheel. Wheel is spinning. All right.
I never felt so nervous before.
All right. So the topic we're going to start with today is Steven Seagal.
Oh, that's an interesting transition.
Yes, we the only reason why I put Steven Seagal in this is I was looking through my my Reddit feed, and I had saved a video of, it was back in, I think, like the 1980s, with him doing martial arts, and there's people attacking him, and he's just kind of like moving his shoulders like alongside them, and they're like doing flips and all this crazy stuff. It was pretty funny, so that's why I added him. Does anyone know anything about Steven Seagal as far as like the history, what he's known for, or anything like that?
See, the only thing that I can say is my mom likes his movies, and I don't know why, but yeah, she likes his movies.
Get your mom on.
I'm sure she'll have to say.
And for me, so my dad was a huge Steven Seagal fan, so I have watched way too many of his movies, and I will say that I'm pretty sure I actually saw the exact same video that you were talking about, and I think it's like labeled like Steven Seagal teaches 30 men, or like fights against 30 men, and it's just like the most unbelievable display of pseudo martial arts I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, and like everyone is like clapping, and they're like, "Oh yeah, good job, Steven Seagal." I wish I knew more about him, but I'm pretty sure like when he first started his career as a movie actor, like he was taken pretty serious. He was like on the lines of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Chuck Norris, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I do remember, it's weird that you say your mom too, Ro, because I do remember my mom saying that like she had a crush on him or whatever. And I was like, what? On Steven Seagal? So
yeah, I'm pretty sure my dad had a hidden crush on him too. So.
Tristan, what about you? What do you know about Steven Seagal?
He has a show where it's cops, but it's Steven Seagal as a sheriff.
That is right.
I'm not a huge 80s action movie fan. My fiance is, though, but he always seemed like a prick to me. But that show is funny as fuck because I love cops, and it's basically just cops with Steven Seagal. So it's just like every time they're apprehending someone, they're like, "Wait a minute, is that Steven Seagal?" Like every fucking time, and it's the best thing ever. I mean, if you're gonna get arrested, it might as well be by an 80s action hero.
Right. I was really surprised about that too, that he actually has like his police license or his whatever it is, where he can actually like arrest.
I'm pretty sure he just walked in one day and no one told him no.
I'm Steven Seagal.
They're probably like, this is probably, he's probably researching a movie. Just let him fill out the paperwork, and then it comes back like, oh shit, here's your badge.
Uh, I don't know any like as far as like specific movies that he's in off the top of my head, but there is I'm not trying to give a shout out or anything like that, but there's a YouTube channel called Weird Movies with Mark, and he covers a Steven Seagal movie, and it is just ridiculous. For like Steven Seagal, I think again, like I was saying, I think his movies actually were taken seriously, but the further like into the 90s, they just got more ridiculous, and he started directing his own movies. And almost like what you were saying, Cody, the movies that he would direct would just be crazy. Like he would barely touch anybody, or like, you know, just like kind of push them, and they would do like a somersault, fall on like the table and everything. So he's
in like 2002, there's a movie that came out. It's called Half Past Dead, and it had Ja Rule in it. And the reason why I really enjoyed this movie with Steven Seagal is because it's probably one of the ones that he was directing. But like every fight that Ja Rule got in, because Ja Rule's a small guy, he just like literally got thrown. Like he like ragdoll thrown across like they were in Alcatraz prison, so he's like thrown across the prison like multiple times, and it's just like this. You have like these big men that Steven Seagal is taking out easily, and then just Ja Rule being thrown like a ragdoll everywhere while he's doing it.
Oh my gosh.
Found some comedy in a supposed action movie, I guess, is what I could say.
Right.
Did you guys ever see like God? It's like the 6th, 7th, 8th. One of the worst Halloween movies. I think right before they did the reboot, where it's Busta Rhymes like fucking fighting.
Oh my
you remember that?
gosh! Yes.
I didn't see it, but I saw the marketing for it.
My fiance loves that movie because it's so terrible, so it's always on, and it's always that fucking scene where it's just Busta Rhymes like being a ninja against Michael Myers, and it's the funniest thing ever.
Halloween Resurrection. That's the one that it is.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I'm a huge Halloween fan. I've seen them all. Actually, I haven't seen the new ones, but that's neither here nor there. I agree. Yes, I wonder at what point Steven Seagal, like, do you think he knows how ridiculous he is?
Or did you see the news article about him recently? It was just on Reddit like 2 days ago. He's in fucking Ukraine right now.
Yeah.
So no, then he doesn't. He really thinks he's just that guy.
No, straight up. Like the article says, and not even doing what you think he's doing. He's in Ukraine right here. It's Steven Seagal travels to occupied Ukraine, spreading Russian propaganda.
Oh.
Wait, what?
Yeah. No, I had to read it a few times.
Whoa.
Wait, so he's for Russia?
It's the impression of the article. Yeah.
Wow, that has definitely caught me off guard.
I think it's just so people would like. I think his ego is just so out of whack. I don't think he actually has beliefs. He just wants attention.
That's a very good possibility. I feel like that is like kind of like if you've been in Hollywood for so many years, it kind of like it just becomes you, and I feel like that's a pretty good example of that.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, if you ever want to see a really good and realistic 1v like 30 fight scene, you should watch the movie IP Man with Donnie Yen, and there's a very believable, very good 1v30 fight scene.
Amazing movie.
Yep, that was Bruce Lee's teacher, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Teacher.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Did you see the other ones of those too before we move
All
on?
of them.
Because like in the second one, he like
one.
fights a boxer and shit, and then like there's a bunch of offshoot ones where he's just like fighting on the streets. It's great.
He fight Mike Tyson in the third one.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was actually a really good fight scene. Like it was impressive.
I feel like Mike Tyson is almost on the same lines as Steven Seagal.
Except for Mike Tyson's arms and fists really create massive amounts of damage.
Well, he seems a lot more chill though now. I mean, what Tyson has he has a podcast. It's Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson.
Internet always
bye,
goes
Alex.
out.
Yeah.
Am I back?
Yes,
Am
you
I
are.
good?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay.
Yeah, the drugs definitely calmed him down to where he's super chill now.
He was. Did you guys? Before I lost my internet connection, did you guys hear me say that Mike Tyson was actually in the news too a while ago?
For
For
beating
what?
somebody up on a plane.
Yeah, someone was antagonizing him on a plane, and then he just got up, turned around, and just started beating the shit out of him. Like rightfully so.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, I don't know. It's just to me like if I tell someone like, "Hey, stop, please, stop," you know what I mean? The guy had it coming, so no, I
The
don't feel
man
bad
bit
for him.
somebody's the man bit somebody's ear off. He's not the poster child of mental stability. Why are you antagonizing him?
But he loves pigeons. The guy loves pigeons, though. Oh,
Did you
all
know
right.
he's coming up in an Indian movie?
Mike Tyson.
Mike
Steven-
Tyson. Yes.
Which one?
So it's yet to be released. The movie's name is Liger, like the cross between tiger and lion. And it basically follows the story of a man who's, I think, dreams of fighting against Mike Tyson one day. So that person is a kickboxer, and eventually, I think he dreams of fighting Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson makes an appearance in the movie. So, Mike
Oh,
Tyson making an appearance in the Indian film industry.
Any
Nice.
anime fans here? Because there's an anime called Baki, which is very similar pretenses.
no. I mean, I do like. There's a few animes that I don't mind, but I'm not huge into it. All right. I know. Is there anything else anyone wants to say about Steven Seagal?
No.
All right. Let's spin that wheel again. Let's see what it lands on. Can you guys guess?
Aliens?
Not quite. Roswell.
Okay.
I'm
Roswell.
not aware of that.
Oh, okay. Who probably knows the most about Roswell?
I know quite a bit about it, but I'm sure you probably know the most about Roswell. I don't think anybody can take that crowd.
I actually, Cody? Why don't you explain to Ro what Roswell is?
Okay, so Roswell is a town that I believe is in New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. So Roswell is where the basically most famous crash site for a UFO in the United States is. So a UFO famously crashed there. There was a lot of pictures. It kind of got leaked prior to the government getting involved. Like there's news articles and stuff like that, and then the government kind of came in, took over, and shut everything down. And it's been essentially a hot spot prior and ever since for UFO sightings, basically since. Like there's commonly aerial phenomenon seen, commonly lights. People think that they're landing and traveling right around the area, and it's not too far from most of the secret bases because Area 1 isn't the only one. There's a multiple of them. But so it's kind of like I guess the mecca for alien phenomenon in the United States.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And there's a lot of controversy surrounding Roswell too, because a lot of people in the town of Roswell saw the U.S. military come in, take like a spacecraft out of the town. There's a really good documentary that like it interviews like the townspeople, and they all come up with like the same drawing. Like an artist like goes like, all right, what did it look like, and then he draws it out, and like pretty much all of them are pretty much similar. Maybe just like a few details are off. But the reason why there's a lot of controversy behind it is because when the news hit, or like the papers hit, it said like UFO crashes in Roswell, New Mexico, and then like a day later, the U.S. military is like, nope, it wasn't a spacecraft, it was a weather balloon.
Other balloon, yep.
Yes, and it was just like, no, there's no way that this was a weather balloon. And there's a I should try to find the picture and show you, but it's a military personnel just like crouching next to like what looks like tinfoil or whatever, and everyone in the town is like, no, that is not what we saw. And then also, I don't know if you said this, Cody, or not, but supposedly that there were alien beings that were outside the craft. One was, I think there was two or three. One of them was dead, but then the other one was alive when they actually got to the crash site. And I think they tried to, like, supposedly, like, off documentaries and what people say, supposedly they tried to keep the alien alive, but they just couldn't. It ended up dying. And then there's also like these alien autopsies from Roswell or whatever, but they've been fake or whatever. But yeah, like what Cody was saying, it's pretty famous. And if you type in Roswell into Google and then just look at all the crazy pictures and everything like that, like they've made it's what does it remind me? It reminds me kind of almost like Burning Man, where it's just like crazy people in alien suits and like all this stuff will go there. So
Is there a series, a drama series, Roswell? Because I see that in my Google search.
yes, there was. I've never seen it, but yes, there is a TV show called Roswell. Tristan or
Yeah.
Cody, I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I've not, but I've kind of. It's definitely from what I've like seen in the context of it. It's like the Hollywood version of what happened. So obviously, there's a lot of creative liberties that are probably taking place in that show that stretch
Yeah.
beyond anything that actually happened. But
No. Okay, so here's a question for everybody. So let's say put yourself back into. I think when did that happen? It was like 1940,
early 1900s. I don't even think it was 40s. I think it was before that.
Was it?
I think so. I'll have to look up to be exact, but I'm pretty sure it was earlier.
Because I mean,
Is that
it
the
was
photo
still,
that you were referring to, Alex? I've just put it in the podcast photos.
yes, yep, that's the one row.
No, you're right. 1947.
1947. So 1947. That's
Which
when.
makes sense in a lot of ways. Because that would have been right after we defeated the Nazis in Germany,
Mhm.
and there were conflicting reports, in which is the reason why Project Paperclip came about, that the Nazis were in possession of UAPs, I guess we call them now,
Yep.
and that they were utilizing them on the battlefield, and if there was something flying around, they would have shot it down thinking it was still them in some way, shape, or form. So there's definitely validity to the lead up of it.
Well, I had talked about that in the favorite books episode. How I had covered how both the Axis and the Allies thought that both sides were using advanced technology. And then that's when Tristan learned about Foo Fighters. I had to explain to them.
Oh,
yeah.
And then
So.
the whole literally them trying to make Captain America with meth.
yeah. Yes. Actually, we might get to that topic.
I won't spill.
It's not exactly like that, but there is there's something kind of like that on the wheel. We might get to it again, we might not. But going back to question, so 1940, put yourself in your position, you're a townsperson, and spacecraft, or you see, U.S. military or military coming in and taking a spacecraft out. What would you be thinking, or like what would your thought process be? Would you even question yourself after a while, because like the U.S. military, like, no, it was a weather balloon, and then do you think you would start questioning yourself and like if it's real or not?
I wouldn't, but it also depends on the circumstances. Like, if you're the townsperson that attempted mouth to mouth to resuscitate that alien, I don't think there's anything that's going to help you get
Just
over that.
hung in an alien.
There's
That's
nobody that's
true.
going to be able to tell you otherwise. That you're going to dream about that for the rest of your life. But like anybody else, I still think that I feel like that probably, granted, there's still a lot of trust because we won the war, but the Great Depression is not too far from that. So there's still a lot of mistrust in the government at the time because of that. So I still think that there's enough mistrust in the government that people will still kind of hold to their guns at that point in time of seeing that. And I feel like I would probably be one of them.
What do you think, Ro?
Well, I for one will not be giving a mouth to mouth to the alien because
You're missing out, Ro. Mouth to mouth and alien. You only get one chance.
It could taste like Skittles.
Yeah. Jeez.
so if I haven't seen it, then I would probably, be inclined to believe the government more. If it's hearsay, then I would obviously would believe my government is telling the truth. But if I've seen it, it will definitely uh, it will make me question myself because I don't think like we could just go onto Google and check, or we could click photos immediately. Whatever is there is just there in our core memory. So yeah.
It's true. Tristan, what about you?
You ever play that Tony Hawk game where you have Roswell as a level?
Yep.
No,
It's great. It's really
I have
fun.
not.
You can grind a rail, and then there's like a door where you go, and they're experimenting on an alien, and it's super fun. Otherwise, I don't really care about Roswell.
You don't?
I don't know why, but I've never found it interesting. As far as I think it's just because it's the most like standard story, like you hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like the movie once you're growing up. Didn't they do a parody of that in Futurama too, where like
Yes.
they like that was the whole thing? Like it wasn't aliens, it was them going back in time so he could sleep with his own grandma.
Yes.
What?
Yeah. Fry is. Yeah.
Yeah. Fry's his own grandfather. Yeah.
Yeah. Fry's is like what? Yeah. So Fry is just it's his own thing. He created himself, essentially. Yeah. That was a good episode.
And the crazy part is he's not the one with one eye.
Oh yeah. Because what was it?
Layla or whatever.
Layla
Yeah.
has the one eye. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, as far as Roswell goes, almost like what you were saying, Ro. It's like you can't get onto Google and like try to see what you're seeing and everything. And it's again, it's like it's such a love-hate relationship with technology because even today with cell phones and like recordings and everything like that, things still look fake. I'm part of like the UAP subreddit or whatever, and there's always like flashing lights, and I was like, a drone, CGI, but like it could be real, but I'm just like, no, or whatever. And is it because I've been taught that like, hey, this isn't real, or like I don't know. I think for me, if I don't know, I want to believe in the aliens. I really do, but I don't know. I guess I really want to see one. Maybe not give mouth to mouth, even if it tastes like Skittles. Oh, speaking of Skittles, were you guys aware that they're changing the formula in Skittles?
So not probably to the extent that you're saying. I know that they're bringing back one of the flavors because green has been apple, and they're going to bring back lime, which was the original
Mhm.
one.
Yep.
But I also know that Skittles is banned in a lot of countries because of what is in it, and there was a huge outcry that even though it's a huge outcry, it was really well swept under the rug for the most part here, and there wasn't a lot of media on it. But there's a huge outcry that the fact that it's not allowed in many other countries, that it's still allowed here, is kind of insane, and they need to switch something.
What
Well,
is
so
in it?
it's. I think it's like laundry detergent or like something like that.
Tide Pods.
Is that
I
why
don't.
there was this trend of eating Tide Pods? Because it tasted
It-
similar like
Might be.
Skittles.
I don't even know I don't even know how that was ever a thing. Like what in your right mind? Why would you think that a Tide Pod tastes good? Or like okay, I get it. It's squishy. It looks like a gusher. Got it? Then just eat gushers. You don't have to eat a Tide Pod. Like what the? I don't get it. No. Like some of the challenges now, like on TikTok and like I don't know. It just doesn't like some of like the cinnamon challenge. Do you guys remember the cinnamon challenge?
No.
do.
Road. Okay, so I think it was a tablespoon.
Yes, a teaspoon.
Teaspoon? I thought it was a tablespoon. It was like a lot. I thought it was a
It
lot.
doesn't take a lot to do it, so I don't know.
But regardless, so the challenge was to take, I guess, a spoonful. We'll call it a spoonful. To take a spoonful of cinnamon and eat it. And it's
Ew.
really hard. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and you look like a dragon when you cough it up because it's just like. But yeah, it's it just dries up your entire mouth, so you can't do it. I'm sure someone was able to do it, but like that was just another weird challenge that was going around.
But it's like
But
when
yeah.
Sure,
when
someone
we were
must.
growing up.
What's that?
I said, I'm sure someone must have. I mean, anything for the likes on
Oh
TikTok.
yeah. Right.
Well, even like when I was growing up, I think I might be a little bit older than you guys, but it was the whole can you chug a gallon of milk in an hour thing, and it's impossible. You start throwing up and everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the same. I mean, there's always been those stupid things that generate laughs in school and stuff like that. So I'm assuming those are just the accelerated versions of that.
Well, there's the ones that I remember too were like the eating 17 it was 7 saltine crackers in a minute. Like it's because the salt and just like a saltine cracker will just like dry up your mouth. It's really hard to. I mean, people have done it, but I remember that was another challenge. Speaking of the gallon of milk, though, there was a woman in the U.S. who was trying to win a Wii, and you had to chug, I think it was a gallon of water in an hour, and she drowned herself or something like that.
Yeah.
From how much water she drank, she killed herself
Yeah.
for a Wii. I was like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah, so the
I can't-
idea was that you drink water, but do not go and pee to
Was
win
that
the
it?
Wii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had to hold your pee?
Yes.
So did she die from like just her I guess her
Yeah,
bladder
so
exploding?
so her kidney couldn't wash out the whatever it was. It needs to wash out, and I think her lungs also kind of gave up, and she died.
Was that in the was that in the US or was
Yeah, I
that
believe
Yes.
so.
okay?
It was in the US. It was some radio station who had rolled out this competition or whatever. Give
Can you
away.
imagine how badly they got sued afterwards?
I was
her
just
family?
gonna say that. I wonder
Yes.
if they got sued, or I
Yeah.
wonder if it was if they signed like some sort of agreement or some sort of like rules or whatever that like like safety. I don't know if they covered that in the.
Yeah, but if the
You know,
rule
They should
is
have.
specifically
Yeah.
unsafe, I don't know that would be valid because they wouldn't
True.
have done their due diligence to validify that was safe prior.
True, they probably would have. If they had medical like personnel like on the scene to make sure everyone's good, or like, all right, hey, no. But if it was just like hold your pee for an hour, and it was just yeah, I could see them getting into a lot of trouble. I wonder what radio station that was or where it was exactly.
We can check.
Cody, are you looking it up right now?
No, I think Ro is.
Oh, Rose.
I am.
Okay.
She died of water intoxication. That's what preliminary. I can't speak today. Preliminary autopsy
Preliminary. Okay.
results indicated. So, the radio station is called KDND 107.9.
I have no idea what
This
state
was-
that is.
This was in Sacramento, if I'm not wrong.
Oh.
Sacramento.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Don't drink water a lot. Well, I mean, drink water. You want to drink water. You got to drink water to survive, but just manage it well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else about Roswell? Now that we talked about people dying from water.
Aliens aren't bad. Water is.
No, right? All right. Here we go. Next thing on the topic. I knew I was gonna pick this. All right. I will try to pronounce this the best I can. Okay. Limpambu. Have either one or has anyone heard of that?
No.
Okay.
How do you spell it?
Yeah, how do you Mhm.
LIMPOMBO. As soon as
Oh,
yes.
yes.
I had to say it like this just
Like the
because.
Limpopo River?
No, it's
No.
the elongated skulls.
Yep. So it's a practice, I think it was in Africa, where they would, as the baby had their skull was still soft, they would wrap it in a way to make their skulls elongated. Yeah. So
So yeah, cranial deformation.
yep. And there's a couple of different. There's still. I don't know if they do it now. I know like up into the 1930s they were still doing it. But there is another. I don't know if it's a tribe or like who it is in Africa, but the elongating of the neck. That's another
Yeah.
thing. And I
Yeah.
don't. And I don't know. Maybe like I don't know if anyone knows of like any sort of like. Would you consider that body mutilation or body modification or
I
like
would say modification because I do believe in that practice. They look at it as beauty. So
that is
I would
true.
Yeah.
believe that would be more considered modification because you have obviously the neck elongation, but they also have some tribes that put the
Oh,
rocks in their lips and they stretch their
yes.
lips,
Yep, that's
and
Yes.
then like
right.
the bamboo and the spikes through their lips or through their nose or through their eyebrows and all types of stuff. So I mean it's very obviously I can't speak upon other countries, but it is immensely common here to do that with lots of metal things. So I
Mhm.
think I would definitely go for towards the modification aspect.
Okay.
I think it's
And
very,
like
very close to what uh, Chinese people do to young girls. They do the foot binding, wherein
Mhm.
they
isn't that
tightly bind the feet.
isn't
It's
that
like
illegal
amazing.
now though?
It,
I thought foot binding was illegal. Like you could not do that anymore.
I guess
I
There's
so.
a
mean, I
caveat to
don't
that.
know.
There's a
Mm.
caveat
What
to that because they bind feet for ballet too. So
true.
if you're a ballet dancer, your feet are still bound and they're do binding. It's just not in the same context, I guess. It's not to make their feet look pretty, it's for the context of being able to carry their weight a certain way while they're dancing, but it's
Yeah,
still
I
a
mean,
horrendous practice.
if you
Ugh.
see those pictures of foot binding, I mean, their feet is not like this. It's like this. The thumb is like this way, and then the entire fingers are like
Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
It's like their foot is like, yeah, it's just weird. I mean it's what they did. I mean, they found it to be, maybe not cool, but like again, it's their
Yeah, it was
version of
considered to be
beauty.
attractive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, so with head elongating and everything like that, that was considered to be body modification, to be beauty. So what are your guys' take on, I guess, well, so Ro, it's going to be interesting for you because you'll have a different aspect of this. I know you will. But for like us in the United States, as far as like tattoos and piercings, because that is huge in the United States, that's considered beauty. I'd like to hear your guys' opinion as far as, is it something that you guys find to be beauty modification, body mutilation, or like when is it too far, things like that.
See, for us, tattoos have always been there. It's just that it was never fancy. Even today, if you look at in rural areas, you will find old ladies have tattoos with their name or with the god's name, or even a tattoo over here, because if it signifies that the lady is married and things like that. So they have it here, just a spot. There are a lot of variations of tattoos that you can find in Indian culture. It's not recent. What is recent is the kind of tattoos that are now being done on the body parts and where it's being done. So you have your
Mhm.
tramp stamp and all of that. So yeah, so tattoos were never looked down upon. It was very much part of our culture. Piercings are something that is very common as well, especially in girls. For a lot of Indian girls, we get our ears pierced when we are just about a year old. It's like a whole ritual. Like there's a jewel. Can't I speak today?
It's okay, bro. That's all right. Now you know what it's like to be me. I can't talk all the time.
So this person comes home who pierces the girl's earlobes with either a silver, uh, piece of like a straight piece of metal and just twist it, or it's gold, depending on what parents want to do. So it's a whole like a function, like people come and attend, and um, so it's a big thing. And now even the guys have started to pierce. It's become a fashion, so that's again fine. But yeah, if you have like weird piercings in your tongue, and yes, again, nostril piercing is again very much part of our culture as well. um, you'll find people with two sides. I mean, again, in rural areas, old grannies will have two sides piercing. Some will have it over here as well. So it's been
Did you call them grannies? I'm sorry, I just thought that was funny.
yeah. So yeah, and then they'll have piercings. I mean, I can't show it right now, but they'll have piercings all over your ears as well.
Mm.
So it's pretty I don't know, common over here. So
Mhm. Okay. Cody, Tristan?
So obviously it's very common here. It definitely gets to the extreme. You have people tattooing their eyes black, so that way their eyes are literally black. You have people tattooing inside their mouth. Piercings I'm not going to get into, so that way we don't trigger anybody, because there's a lot of places that get pierced here in a lot of different ways. But I actually have an alternate take to the head elongation. So I don't think it is all. I don't think it started as just a beauty practice. So if you look at a lot of ancient graves, and obviously there's like this huge mysticism and grandiose theories about the elongated crystal skulls, and potentially that, and I know that you're going to love this, Alex, potentially that they're from aliens. And so I think that if there was, and I'm not stating that there is, but if there was aliens that landed, they would have been looked upon as gods back in the day because of the technology. And if they had elongated heads, it would be almost obvious for primitive humans to try to emulate them in whichever way they could. So if they had elongated heads, they would have tried to mimic that with their children, so that way they were more like the gods. So I could also see how that could fall into suit.
And I was reading a little bit into this, and the reason why they did that is they felt that they could store more knowledge, and they were smarter if their brains were or not their brains, but their heads, their craniums were elongated like that. So that's another piece of information. I don't know if they strictly did it for, like, again, beauty, but there was that aspect of like that knowledge. So like, it could have been both. It could have been one over the other. Not sure, but yeah. So, Tristan, what are your takes on, I guess, United States and like piercings and body modification, I should say?
I'll let people do what they want.
How did I know you were gonna say something like that?
I mean, I don't have any piercings, tattoos, any of that. That's just not my jam. But I don't really give a crap what people do, as long as it makes them happy. That's fine. I think some people take it a little too far, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I just think that maybe people need to think a little bit more before they go to the extreme because a lot of it's not reversible. But hell, if that makes you happy, you don't give a crap. Do it.
I'm almost on the same lines with you, Tristan. Like I really don't care if someone has tattoos, if they don't, piercings, whatever. I will say though, I do find it a little, now again, if you're listening to this and you have a lot of piercings, a lot of tattoos, I'm sorry, but this is just how I feel. I feel like there are certain jobs and certain professions where it may not be professional to have, like, now like one or two, or like if they're covered, okay, whatever. But if you have like tons of face tattoos and piercings, and I don't know, I'm thinking shallow here, but I think there's just certain jobs that we have that you need to have a professional appearance and look. And that's just how I was raised, and that's just how I feel. Again, I don't care if you want to have them. That's up to you. If it makes you happy, kind of like what Tristan was saying. So, yeah.
People just have to
You know
understand they're
this-
going to be perceived a certain way, unfortunately. I've had a couple employees that, like, customers would rip into them for it. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
not professional. Like, they have, like, the colored hair and tons of tattoos and crap. And, unfortunately, that's not always perceived nicely by certain aspects of the public. But as long as you understand that going in and don't really care about what other people think, I mean, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it's one of these things too. Like, I'm not judging. Again, never judge a book by its cover. Like, that's not why I've been taught that too. And just because you have piercings and tattoos does not make you a bad person. But if you're trying to be, let's say, become a priest and you have devil tattoos on your face, do you think you're gonna get the job, or do you think people? It's things like
That
that's
sounds
what
like
I'm,
my kind of church, bro.
yeah.
Let's do that.
Of course, just that's what I mean in all of this. Like, again, if you want to be like a police officer, a judge, and you have tattoos, it shouldn't matter, because what you're focusing on is the law and like what is right and what is wrong. Again, it doesn't matter really what you look like.
You know what I
but-
find funny?
What's that?
Every time I see a person with like a lot of tattoos or piercing, the first thought that always pops into my head is, "Fuck, that must have been expensive."
Yeah, well, yes, and
Tattoos are not
that's-
cheap, dude. Like people that do like full body tattoos and shit. Like where the fuck is that money coming from?
And there's just like, there are some professions like the military, for instance, like there's soldiers, like, and that's the thing, like soldiers will get like a bunch of tattoos, but they run the risk of having like a limb blown off. So you just threw like $2 or $3 grand right down the toilet. I mean, granted, it's like, again, do whatever you want to, but yeah, it's an expensive thing. And there's even the what I've seen recently more of is the, like what you were saying, Cody, like the coloring of the eyes, and then also like putting things under their skin. And I think it was in South Korea. They would inject stuff into their forehead, and then they would push it in the center, and it would make like a donut. It's the weirdest thing. Ro, you're looking at me really weird. You look, type it up on Google. I don't know what you'd
A
put, like donut on
donut?
for.
It does look like a donut.
It does. It does. And I don't know. Again, like trends. I don't know how some of those trends start and everything.
People
So-
insert
Yeah, I mean,
horns
you.
and stuff.
Yeah. There's this guy from Brazil, right? He's chopped off his nose. He's chopped off his fingers, just to look
Yes.
like. I mean, he says he's a demon worshipper and Satan worshipper, whatever, and he wants to look like one, and he's got horns implanted. He's got his eyeballs tattooed.
Yes,
Or
He looks
eyes
like the Red
tattooed.
Skull.
and like people can like go blind from that, like the tattooing of the eyes. So it's just like, I don't know why you'd want to.
Well, on
Like, it
the,
would
on the
be
flip side, the practical side, do you guys remember what happened to Travis Barker? Remember that drummer? Like he in the plane crash and like most of his body was burned.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So he covered himself, and he was always heavy into tattoos. But I've listened to a couple interviews with him. He's like, "Yeah, I just gave him the opportunity to get new ones because they all burned off of his body."
I mean, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah,
you know?
that's one way of looking at it. Correct.
Well, and a lot of people will do that. So if they were in women who have survived breast cancer, a lot of times they'll get tattoos to cover scars and
Yep.
stuff like that. And people will get tattoos to cover wounds and trauma and other things like that. I will kind of slightly pull away. So some of the best managers I've ever hired have a bunch of face tats and teardrops
Oh.
and all types of stuff. And one
Yeah.
of them, and I won't drop his name, but permanent, all teeth in his mouth were permanent gold, not snatch outs. They literally will always be gold. Face tattoos like you would look at him, and there's the initial prejudgment of what you would think. The nicest, sweetest person you will ever meet in your life, and treats his people the best and his customers after getting used to him, because there is that prejudgment. But him also going through what he's gone through, he understands that there's going to be prejudgment. So he works towards, showing that, he's not scary. And I mean, the people that go to his location, they all love him. They will only go there because of him, because he's just, such a great and genuine person. So I think there's there's a misconception of tattoos, but there's also the fact that generally the people that get the tattoos that know that they're more risque understand that there is that prejudgment, and they usually don't act, negatively towards the people that give it to them. And there's almost like the ability to prove them even more wrong. The people and it kind of creates a better story in a way.
Why do you think it is that if we know that it may not be the case that, just because they have like a face tattoo, whatever, that they may not be, why is it that we're still afraid then? Why is it there that's still that, I guess, that
social
stigma?
manipulation. We have social manipulation in a lot of ways, to where we're taught to fear things we don't know. And that doesn't have to be just people. It's just in general. So we're programmed to fear things that we don't understand, instead of attempting to understand things that we don't understand. So the other thing is a lot of it's ego. And so generally people, like in the manager that I'm speaking of's case, he looks like a gangbanger. And at one point in time he was. But we don't want to change, and our ego doesn't want us to change, so we can't believe that he did. He'll always be that. Instead of learning him as a person and realizing that, yeah, maybe he made mistakes, but he's an amazing person and he's learned from those. They weren't mistakes, they were lessons. And instead of thinking for ourselves that we have lessons, we just chalk it up as a mistake and continue on with no guilt.
I like that. We need to be open-minded more, I guess. We need to be, again, don't judge a book by its cover. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I like that. Okay. Is there anything else that we want to cover about headlongation? I mean, I know we talked more about like tattoos and everything like that, but I mean, this has something to do with it. I mean, but any other thoughts? Anything else like that?
Nope.
All right. We're going to spin the wheel again. Let's see what it lands on. Ooh, this is going to be a good one. This may take the rest of the time. I don't know. I think it will. All right. The next topic that we're going to be talking about is artificial intelligence.
Ooh.
So I don't know where we start with this, because there's a lot to kind of unwrap. I said it like, I think I said it like at the beginning of the show. Technology is a good thing and a bad thing. And the book that Tristan actually brought up during our favorite books talked about AI. Now, if you're listening in the audience and you haven't listened to that episode, Tristan, do you mind giving kind of like a rundown as far as like what that was about and like how the two pertain to each other?
It wasn't really about artificial intelligence, dude.
Yes, it was. It was about robots and how like they didn't learn and then they kept building stuff. Yes, it was.
Kind of. It was about how they automized their society through machines, which is kind of like that, but it's a very much more of an on-off type thing versus like, because artificial intelligence means that it's gonna have like sentience to an extent, right? It's gonna be able to think and have its own free will. That's where you get like, what's the Turing test, or where the fuck that one is from, like that movie. What's that one movie where it's the dude goes in, he's supposed to be a programmer, and he goes in the middle of the woods with this billionaire, and then Like you come to find out he's making all these artificial robots and crap. Ex Machina.
Ex
that one.
Machina. Yes.
That one's much better. Player Piano is about like a 50s interpretation of what AI could be, because at that point all they had was like punch card type machines, and they were able to use those things to kind of automate the society. But the robots never actually had free thought, which was actually the whole point of the book, is the fact that if you give over control to something that isn't sentient, it crushes the soul of people that are working.
So was the book kind of about AI?
Yes, it was kind of loosely, vaguely about AI. Alex.
I was right. Kinda. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys? All right, so let's just start very basic. Do you think giving your vacuum cleaner its own brain to like know when to vacuum and do its own thing is a good idea?
So this is such a well argued theory. So there's theories that obviously if we create true AI, that eventually by creating AI we also create our extinction, because AI is eventually going to realize at one point in time, because it's smart enough, that we're pretty much the biggest parasite on this planet, and therefore it will eventually exterminate us. But the other thought process is that by the time it takes humans to create an actual sentient being, we will have already destroyed ourselves anyways.
Really?
Well, yeah, I mean that's just we're hostile. We're going to, get upset with each other and press the big red button. So they feel like that by the time we create a sentient being, we're going to already have enough, essentially, smart weapons where we would have already destroyed each other.
I don't know. Now, is that like the thought process now, or is that like how it's always been?
That's a pretty big thought process now. Is that before we get to the point of creating an AI that can pass the Turing test, is that we will, which and now we're also realizing with Google's AI that the Turing test is kind of flawed, but because it's not sentient, but it makes it look like it's sentient because it can kind of pass it. But
real quick, Cody,
Yep.
are you talking about like it's a stick person that's like running and it has to like hop over like a barrel or something like that?
no,
No,
so
I think
the
my thing is
Turing
something.
test. The Turing test is a test that it determines whether or not a computer is capable of thinking like a human being. The test is named after Alan Turing, the founder of the Turing test. It's basically, so if the computer can convince a person that it's a person, it can technically be, it's technically past that level. That's very vague. It's a lot more in depth than that, and I'm sure Tristan would probably be better explaining exactly the concepts behind that. But there's just a lot of people that are very intelligent, and they understand that humans are temperamental, and we're kind of like the variable with everything. Could we potentially at some point in time create something smart enough to be a sentient AI that is much more intelligent than we are? Potentially, yes. But generally the smartest people are not in power. And so because of that, the fact that they will be in charge of things that can destroy mankind, that is more likely to happen first.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. There's two movies. There's a bunch of movies about artificial intelligence. One of them, Chappie. Chappie was I really liked that movie. I know it gets a lot of heat sometimes. I don't know why not. I thought it was really good. I haven't seen it for a while, but I do remember like just the concept behind it, like how it was essentially a baby or whatever. Like it's just like it had to learn, but it would learn so fast, and then it got to the point where it was smarter than us, and then it could put someone's consciousness into a robot so they could therefore live forever too. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then there's another movie with Antonio Banderas. I can't remember the name of it. but the world essentially is decaying and it's falling apart. And I think it's from nuclear war. And there's only like a few places left on Earth that are safe to live. And they've created, by this time, like robots are a thing. And the robots, there's a handful of them that are starting to think on their own, or they're not listening to humans. And like a handful of them like go out to this desert. Now, if you've seen this movie, I'm not doing it justice, but a handful of them like walk out to the desert and they start building another robot that's smarter than them. And then like it's so like you can kind of see, and that can live in like this nuclear wasteland or whatever. So, and like they're like taking parts from other robots, like the brain parts and everything like that, and like putting all these brains into like one, like, and it's weird. It looks like a little like cockroach robot thing. So it was really weird what the robots created. They didn't create a robot that looked like them. They created something that was like more efficient or something like that. So I think that's kind of interesting. What is weird is how we make artificial intelligence look like humans. Like I don't know. Do you think it would be something where the artificial intelligence would create something that would look like us, or like almost like in the Antonio Banderas movie, make something completely different?
That was like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy version of AI, where it's just like a ship that's overly happy, or a robot that is just clinically depressed. That's my hopeful future for AI, is that we give them very distinct personalities.
They're just sad all the time.
Who is it, man? At least they feel us.
Yeah.
You have iRobot as well as another AI
Yes.
movie out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. One.
But I think it depends on the goal of said AI. Is the AI's goal to communicate with humans? And if that's the case, I feel like they would try to be as close to human-like as possible for an easier transition of communication. If you're going more cynical and you're going world domination, I think you go towards the efficiency side.
Well, Terminator, they made all their robots, all their like T
The
set
T1000 and T800.
Yeah, they all looked like they're just like
Yeah, but they were still like a skeletal, so it's still kind of humanoid, but that was also man-made. So like that was, the design was created by man and then implemented by robots later and improved upon.
But at a certain point, though, wasn't the robots making other robots though?
And that's where you like get the T1000 that was like mercury, and it could like it could liquefy and then solidify kind of at will.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to keep
All
in
right.
mind the uncanny valley part too. I mean, shit looks weird when they start making them look like humans,
Oh yeah, there was
like real ones, not ones in movies, because in movies they use actual actors, so it's obviously a person. But like any sort of like attempt at making a robot or some shit that looks like a human, it always looks so fucking creepy.
Yes, it does. And there was an interview a while back with
Sophia. That's the
is
robot's
that-
name.
yes, and she's like, I want to take over the world or like destroy humans. Ha ha ha. It was creepy. It was like, don't say that.
I think she also wanted to have a robot baby, if I'm not wrong.
So okay,
She-
so all right. So is that right there? Would you consider her, or like, well, I guess it, to be conscious? Or is that still like, no, not truly? Because then do you think the robot would try to like start piecing itself together and making itself whole?
Well, that's
Or,
still
like-
not really conscious, because that could be programming. So consciousness and free thought is the ability to adapt, and that's where it gets like, that's where like the Turing test and everything else gets really involved, and really like, because if you, and this is what we're finding with Alexa and Google's AI and stuff, if you take something, a program, 'cause that's what they are, they're a program that's intended to sweep and grab information and adapt and learn, that's still not consciousness. That's still a program. It's programmed to do that. And so therefore, if you plug it into the internet, like Alexa, and it has this plethora of things to pull from that we have just spat out over the past, 50, 60 years, it's going to be able to learn those things. But just because it's learned those things does not make it conscious. It just makes it a computer because it's still programmed.
Okay, well then I guess you run into the problem with, all right, what about someone who is born but is like has things wrong with their brain? You can't tell them that they're conscious. How do you know that they know that they're they have a
So I'm going to use
con-
computers. I'm going to use computers to prove your point, or to kind of
Okay.
disprove your point. So if I pull out my GPU on my PC right now, I can no longer see on the screen. That doesn't make it any less of a computer because a part of it doesn't work. It's still a computer. It's just not working properly. Now, obviously, the brain's a little bit more complex, and I can't just plug a new GPU into their brain and make it work correctly. But it's still the same concept of the brain is still there. Consciousness is still available, but something is not working properly. It doesn't make the thing less of a thing. It just makes the processes different. So that's the same point as the programming for these quote unquote AIs that we use today. The moment you change the programming, they can no longer do the same thing. So at the end of the day, it's still a program.
Okay. How do I convince any of you that you're a human? Like I'm sitting here, I'm thinking like, how do I like, if that's part of the test, like the computer has to tell a person that it is a person and like X, Y, Z, whatever. I don't even think I could. I don't think I could. Are you squishy? Can you talk? Like I mean that like that would be, I guess, my like. Then you're a human. Can you think on your own? I guess like okay. So at what point? So even if this is very I don't know. Okay, my brain is starting to hurt right now because I'm having to think a lot. So, all right. All right, let me try to gather my thoughts right now. Okay, so
Alex, what did we talk about with you thinking? Come on, man.
yeah, but all right, then
I may have
no
an
more.
answer. I may have an answer before you formulate your question because I understand what you're trying to say.
Just
So I
by
think
me
we are
grunting.
yes. So I think we already answered it unintentionally. So
Okay.
when you talk about any AI that's made today or any robot that's made today that are made to look like humans, they're creepy, right? Why?
Mhm.
Because they're missing that lifelike feature. They're missing the soul in the eyes. They're missing the expressionism. They're missing the true understanding. So there's something deep rooted within us to where we understand life and we feel life and we feel the soul. It's the same thing as if you see an animal pass and you understand that they pass because you can essentially feel that life force no longer with them. Whether you call it soul, whether you call it whatever you may call it, whether it's chi, regardless. So when you're talking to a human, when you're talking to one of us, there is that expression of there's that life. The moment you see that robot and it's talking and it's just lifeless talking to you, that's the creepiness that you're feeling because there's no relation. You're hearing something that sounds human, but what it's coming from, you don't recognize. Even though it looks human, you don't recognize. There's something deep inside of us that can't accept it.
But what if it gets to the point where the robots can? What if it gets to the point where it's like, oh, I see a human, it's sad, I need to like comfort it, or what do you need? Like then it's gonna start having that lifelike, like it can understand feelings. I think you know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean, but I still think that there will be a disconnect because it's still a program to. For example, I'm gonna bring up a teenager, whether boy or girl, regardless,
Mhm.
or whatever gender you associate with. But so my oldest is 11. He's in preteens and he's getting hit with a million hormones that he does not understand. So every feeling that he has is irrational as hell. And there's no way to coax that feeling. You just kind of got to go with it. And because of that irrationality of emotions, I don't believe that we'll be able to create a program that can just understand that. Because now the robot is all of a sudden coaxing you because you're sad. Now you're happy, so it's reacting to the happiness. Now you're upset again, but it doesn't know what you're upset about. So how does it react towards which upset? And I feel like there's definitely going to be a disconnect at some point in time, and I feel like teenagers will help that because there's just a lot of whirlwinds of chaos going through that.
Well, so then I guess this begs the question, is AI even attainable? Because if it's all about programming, and if it's all about like, all right, I'm programming you to learn, then is it, or like I don't know, like, because if again, if it's something that you're just born with, you're just born with this like understanding and this, I don't know what it is, then how would AI even be obtainable if it's always
Well,
going to be that like you have to program it to learn, or you
well,
have to like,
because we just don't know how to do it yet, and that doesn't mean it's impossible. For example, in the 1400s, they didn't know how to make a light bulb, but it didn't mean it was unattainable. So it was just at that point in time it was. So we've not figured it out yet, which is fine, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. I don't believe anything is impossible. I believe eventually, with enough, I don't know, whether it be studying or learning or creating or innovation, eventually we can create anything that we can imagine. It's just the point of, will we be alive for it?
you okay, Tristan?
Oh, I've been sniffling and coughing this whole time.
Oh, I thought you were. I thought
So
you.
I keep going
I
on
thought you
mute.
might. Oh, okay. Ugh. That's human.
Um,
That's human right there.
That's
Well,
definitely human.
also, dude, look at it in reverse. Do you think a fly has consciousness?
Well, no.
If you look at like the concept of evolution, we all came from single cell organisms, and then over enough fucking time, things started to happen and change and evolve. So I mean, where's the cutoff of consciousness? Does your dog have consciousness? Your cat? Mine do, because they're assholes. So I know they must be thinking in some way. You know, where's that cutoff happen? And that all just kind of happened, you know, through organic mechanisms. I think if they ever make AI, it'll be like every other big discovery that's ever happened, where it's some big fucking accident. It
That's
always
true.
seems to be what happened is someone's trying to figure something out, and then they end up making something totally different. And I think that's the most likely scenario.
The best electric toothbrush is being created, and all of a sudden it's stabbing people in the gums because it doesn't want to be in their mouth.
Oh my God.
What's that? That's that. You guys haven't watched Rick and Morty. I don't know if you have, Cody, but there's that part where he gives AI to a, like, I think it's a toaster or something, and he's just like, "What is my purpose?" And he's like, "To make toast." And then he just like the little robot gets all sad and just goes away. He's like, "What?"
So, I guess. Okay, so we're saying it's probably something that's gonna be created accidentally. What if it really is like the Google or Alexas that we have in our home that are just constantly collecting all of this data and like all of this knowledge and everything like that, and then I don't know.
Well, what if Alexa is that single-celled organism I talked about?
Exactly?
That's the start point.
Like
Well,
what
that's
if
why I'm nice to Alexa, by the way, just in case that ever does happen. I'm very polite to Alexa.
But almost kind of like what we're talking about. Wouldn't it just like spread like wildfire? Like don't you think like AI would just like develop really rapidly and like it would almost become out of our control?
Yes. If it was programming and if the programming learned itself and it created AI, it would be almost instantaneous to us because of the way a computer is able to, or most computers are able to program instances. So I think it would almost be like it's not there, it's there, like that quickly. But now, granted, that probably wouldn't be the physical version of AI, but like the mental capacity, the consciousness version that we're talking about. Not necessarily physically. I don't think all of a sudden robots are going to be created. But as far as like the consciousness aspect, I think it would be almost instantaneous. But to your point, though, where I think that we're going a little too far of thinking that Alexa is going to do that, because that's who we're using. Alexa only has access to things that we have ourselves has put on the internet. Therefore, Alexa's knowledge is only as good as ours. So if we don't know how to do it yet, the only program that Alexa has is to skim that information and learn from it. So if we don't currently have the information, Alexa doesn't have the information.
True. But if we have the information as far as like how to expand information and how to like get more knowledge, it now has that. So and like
that time.
Did Alex get stuck? Yeah.
Frozen. Am I
Love
done
it.
being frozen? Am I good? Good to go?
Oh, I
I
couldn't get the
had
print
today.
screen. Yep.
Oh.
I did.
Oh, you got it? Okay, good.
Yes.
Great.
Today we have just a
What
list of Alex's photos.
what I was gonna say is like, all right, so at the very now, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys might think differently, but like as a species, as a human, I feel like our goal or our objective is to make more humans.
Mhm.
It's just ingrained into us as like a human being. It is make another one of me.
I think it's an animal,
It-
just in general.
Yes, and like and again, like because we were almost talking about like with Tristan, like where you're saying like, does a fly know it's a fly? It may not, but it knows to make more of itself. It just knows that. So if AI became intelligent and then saw us as a problem because like we're like a parasite, we're just keep growing and growing, would it not understand then that it's trying to do the exact same thing? Like it's trying to grow and make more of it.
Essentially, yes. I do understand what you're saying. Now, a very cynical approach to this and to your thought process is one could also argue that the reason why other animals are programmed to reproduce is so that way they can continuously be food sources.
Hmm.
So how does that make us any different, and what are we the food source for? But there's a I don't know if Tristan, I don't know if you've seen this, but there was a recent article about robots living off of organic beings, like feeding on organic beings, and the scientists behind them stated that we don't believe that they'll ever come to the point to want to obviously feed off of humans. That is not the intention. So
it's not the intention. It's gonna happen though.
well, everybody outside of them that's exactly their reaction. But that was I swear I saw that yesterday. I wish I could remember where the article was. But obviously
Nope.
it could have easily been a shit post. But I thought it was funny because we were talking about it.
Yeah. All right. Final thoughts on AI. What are they? Out across the board, everybody. I want to hear everyone's thoughts on AI.
I welcome our robot overlords.
You're saying that because you're scared. I know. Cody, Ro?
Oh, me. So I don't know. I feel
I
like it's
can't hear
inevitable
you
in a way.
guys.
Huh?
What's up, bro?
Today I am the Alex of this group. I can't hear you guys.
You can't hear
no.
us?
Oh God. Let me check my settings.
It's the AI. The AI knows we're talking about it and doesn't want Ro to voice her opinion.
Mm-hmm. Giving her a chance. We know what she's gonna say, so we're gonna mute it.
I'll drop off and I'll join again because I have no idea what you guys are talking.
Okay, we'll hold off before we we won't say what our final thoughts are then quite yet.
Because this will probably get. Oh, I'll say it afterwards. She's back.
Ro, can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Is that
We-
still working?
Yep.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. Good deal.
All right. So AI, in my opinion, my final thoughts, I do think it's inevitable. I don't think we're going to see it in our lifetimes, personally. Now, it is possible because of the way we're advancing so rapidly. but I still don't feel like I feel like we may get a glimpse of the beginning processes of AI, but I don't think we will see it in its full beauty in our lifetimes. But I think in a way it could be good, in a way it could be bad, and I think it's just one of those things that we're just gonna have to see.
All right. Ro?
Oh, what was the question? I missed it.
Final thoughts on AI.
Um, well, like Cody said, be polite to Alexa, Google Play, whatever is there in your house. Be polite to the Roomba as well. If it is stuck somewhere, pick it up and let it go on its way. But yeah, AI is definitely a possibility in the future, and I think it all depends on the. I don't really want to say person, but the organization handling it. Like everything has its negative and positive. Just like nuclear weapons, AI can be equally dangerous. So, on that very positive and happy note.
My thoughts on AI. I would hope that it would try to reason with us. Like if it was like, all right, hey, humans are not good. Okay, can you like help us out then? Like, how do we become better humans? Like, because I feel like for AI, and this happens in all the movies, and almost like what you were saying, Cody, it has everything on the internet. So if it has access to everything on the internet, what else does it have access to then? Like, does it have access to getting into other people's computers and like getting, like what Rose said, to like nuclear codes and like understanding like how to like launch weapons and like do all this stuff? So I would hope that, rather than killing off all humans, they would at least try to like work with us and become better, like as a, like we coexist essentially, like both AI and humans, and then hopefully one day become cyborgs. That would be pretty cool. I think like the whole Chappie thing to like become a robot, I think that would be badass. This was supposed to be final thoughts, but becoming a robot I think would be pretty cool, because I've always wanted like roller skate legs. I know this is way off topic, but like to be
Spectre
able to
Gadget.
Yep.
yes, and because I watched that show as a kid, and I think that's where it's coming from. But that's we've hit our hour mark. If you guys want to do one more topic, we can, or we can wrap it up. It's up to everyone.
I'm good.
Ro, Tristan.
I have no opinion.
Okay. Ro.
I think 1 hour is good.
1
You
hour's
can
good.
utilize
All right.
those
Then.
topics. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sweet. I'll do the outro then. If you enjoyed what you just listened to, make sure you hit us up on all your favorite social media sites such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, we have the most latest up-to-date information of what's going on in the show and what you can look forward to in future episodes. And remember, we don't want what normal. Wow, what normal? We don't want what's normal. We want stuff that's effing weird.
That is effing weird.